When the Rolls-Royce Phantom, the grandest and greatest luxury conveyance in motordom, was replaced by Rolls-Royce in 2017 and given a glittering 5-star road test welcome by our road tester shortly thereafter. Owners will love it at least as much for the extravagant statement of wealth and status it endows and for the unmatched sense of occasion you enjoy when traveling in one. But while many won't ever know as much, the latest Phantom is also an utter joy and a rare pleasure to drive. Its superbly comfortable and singularly isolating ride comfort can be sampled from the back seats, of course, and is like nothing else you'll encounter in a car, gently loafing and deliciously indulgent feeling, but also supremely quiet and smooth, despite Rolls-Royce's fitment of the latest run flat tire technology. To Mercedes-Maybach S650, the richest and most special car in what might be the most universally respected and admired limousine range in the world. The S650 is the modern standard-bearer for Daimler's Maybach super-luxury brand. To judge by appearances, you'd say it was at least as much S-Class as Maybach, and that's the result of Daimler's strategic decision, taken a few years ago, to broaden the reach of the Maybach mark by creating halo Maybach models across some of its more normal Mercedes passenger car ranges. The ultra-rare Simon Cowell spec Maybach only 57 and 62 limousines were at the same time consigned to history. And so that fact that this car is only an S-Class may be at once its biggest strength and its key vulnerability. Compared to a Rolls-Royce or Bentley, an S-Class might not cut a lot of mustard for drool-worthy curbside appeal. But being an S-Class also makes this car the recipient of all those advanced active suspension and driver assistance technologies and helps to make it so brilliantly refined, rich and cosseting. The S650's 621 bhp, 3 Bentley Mulsanne, a limousine that's singularly aristocratic, whose presence announces itself from hundreds of yards away, and whose agenda is all about serving the interests of the passenger first and the driver a definite second may sound appealing in theory. But if you suspect the reality of ownership of such a car might not appeal quite as much, don't worry, because the super luxury class has something for you too, the Bentley Mulsanne. Deliberately more modest and discreet in its appearance than a certain key British limousine rival, the Mulsanne is a top-level luxury four-door that's grand with a small g. It feels less formal than the Rolls-Royce Phantom, and its interior ambience is more like that of the paneled smoking room of an old gentleman's club than the Phantom's chandeliered ballroom. The material quality, the luster and natural appeal of its wood veneers and the tactile allure of so many of its fittings are second to none. A good helping of driver appeal has always been part of this big Bentley's mode of character. And so while the Mulsanne doesn't ride quite as serenely as some of its closest competition, it handles and responds with more vigor and verve, thanks not least to its torque-wheat, turbocharged petrol V8. What results is a car that may not hit quite the same luxury high notes as the very best cars in the class, but that you might for Rolls-Royce Cullinan, Goodwood's Marmite edition to the super luxury segment arrived in 2018 in response to a significant amount of Rolls-Royce customer feedback that a more daily usable, all-surface capable, family practical model would be a very welcome way to augment the firm's showroom range. The Cullinan has been met by enough criticism of its design, from all quarters, to have said in Aspica since that its maker has taken a significant risk in introducing a car that some have described as awkward and unlovely, and others have slammed in even less sympathetic terms. But if Rolls-Royce's market research holds true, and a year's worth of confirmed orders is a good sign that it will, the collective revulsion of those who wouldn't have bought a Cullinan anyway will do little to prevent it from becoming a commercial success. There is certainly as much to like about life on board this car as there might be to dislike about either the idea or the appearance of it. This is a true Rolls-Royce, and among its dynamic strengths are outstanding mechanical refinement, unimpeached 5. Bentley Bentayga. The Bentayga has had an eventful passage through the Autocar road test evaluation process. Being the first in a barrage of 100,000-pound-plus super SUVs to come to market in 2016, we first rated it highly, with a caveat or two, in W12 engine form, and then rated it higher still when Bentley introduced an Audi-sourced 4.0-liter, 429 bhp turbocharged diesel V8 in 2017, which made exactly as much torque as the 12-cylinder petrol motor, but at more accessible crank speeds. Then, in 2018, amid the spreading toxicity surrounding diesel engines, Bentley removed the Bentayga diesel from sale in Europe, and with it removed from view, what we considered the definitive version of the car. A V8 petrol model augmented the model range in the same year, while a plug-in hybrid is due in 2019. The Bentega's wonderfully plush interior, its swell of torque-laden performance and its sense of imperious, singularly enveloping luxury make it stand out even in this class, and these qualities might even be potent enough. 6. Rolls-Royce Ghost. The Ghost was a line in the sand for Rolls-Royce when it appeared in 2009, the beginning of a transformation that took the company's annual production volume from hundreds of to several thousand cars per year. Using mechanical underpinnings adapted from those of the BMW 7 Series, the Ghost made Rolls-Royce ownership more accessible, only slightly but significantly so. The management's view now on the decision to use those BMW Group mechanicals may reasonably be imagined to differ somewhat from what it once was, since the next Ghost will move on to the same all-aluminium Rolls-Royce-only platform that the Phantom and Cullinan use. While the Phantom is very much a car in which to be driven, the Ghost was intended as a car for the well-heeled driver, and its dynamic character reflects that. Slider-taughter riding and more agile than the Phantom, partly by virtue of its more compact proportions, it lends itself more readily to the cut and thrust of daily motoring on traffic-clogged UK roads than its bigger brother. In terms of interior space, luxury ambience and sheer material quality, the car is a rung below the Phantom, and perhaps not as clearly a cut above other large limousines as a result. Its rolling refinement, too, isn't quite on. 7. Range Rover SV Autobiography. The top-rung, long-wheelbase Range Rover has come a long way as a luxury car since the Genesis days of the famous SUV upon which it's based. The modern SV Autobiography, hand-finished as it is by Land Rover at its special operations base near Coventry, is a car that's now fully 5.2 meters long and 2.6 tons in weight at its heaviest. It was conceived to take full advantage of the embryonic market for super-expensive SUVs and the high regard some have for the Range Rover brand, and it does so quite effectively. Offering a choice of a petrol V8, a diesel V8 or a four-cylinder petrol plug-in hybrid powertrain, the SV Autobiography is a strict four-seater with lounge rear chairs, around each of which you can arrange a fold-out aluminium tray table, while a sliding panoramic sunroof contributes to the remarkable senses of light and space on board. The interior materials are more tactile and expensive than those of the standard Range Rover 2. Ride comfort and isolation both also represent a step up from that car, although neither is quite in the league of the most refined cars in this niche. Some sharper edges seem to test the structural limits of the car's underbody, cutting through the ride composure slightly. 8. Rolls-Royce Dawn. A super luxury four-seat convertible is a rare type of car indeed. Mercedes offers an open-top four-seat S-Class, while Bentley has had its Azure drop-top and now Continental GTC. But Rolls-Royce has, at times, offered more than one four-seater super cabriolet within its model range over the last decade. And while the convertible version of the current generation Phantom has yet to materialize, its equivalent from the smaller Ghost Wraith model Strada, the Dawn, remains very much a part of Goodwood's model mix. The company used uncharacteristically racy terms to describe this car when it was launched in 2016, billing it as the sexiest Rolls-Royce ever built. Whether you agree or not, there's no denying the car's blue-blooded credentials. It uses the same platform and 6.6-liter twin-turbocharged petrol V12 as the Wraith Coupe, producing 563 bhp and 575 pounds-feet of torque, which is down from 624 bhp in Wraith Tune, but still enough to eclipse the vitals of the earlier Phantom drophead coupe. This doesn't feel like a Wraith convertible to drive, and nor was it intended to. A soft-riding boulevardier at its best at a laid-back, open-air cruise, the Dawn begins to feel its size and weight when you edge faster on a typical British A road. It rolls and lulls more than the Wraith, thus urging you, in the most discreet of terms. 9. Bentley Flying Spur. Bentley's four-door Continental Series limousine started its modern life as the Continental Flying Spur in 2006, only dropping the prefix linking it with Cruise two-door Grand Tourer as part of its biggest model overhaul to date in 2014. Now, the Flying Spur is nearing the end of its second model generation, and what you'll find as a result of that is a surprisingly wide choice of engines, derivatives and prices. In entry-level V8 form, the car develops 500 bhp and is priced to compete with cars at the upper end of the Mercedes S-Class and BMW 7 Series ranges. In W12's form, though, it developed 626 bhp, will exceed 200 miles per hour, and costs a whisker under £170,000. And there are a couple of differently flavored derivates to choose from in between. Like the two-door Continental GT, all Flying Spurs offer four-wheel drive. Even though it's Bentley's entry-level limousine, the Flying Spur offers an interior of genuinely luxurious ambience and feel, kitted out as it is with soft, beautifully stitched leathers, authentic, natural veneers and eye-catching and tactile metal brightwork. The car's adaptive air suspension can struggle to produce a really cosseting secondary ride, depending a little bit on your choice of alloy wheel, but its refinement and isolation is of 10. Mercedes-AMG S65 Limousine. The mechanical makeup of the top-of-the-range performance version of the Mercedes S-Class limousine hasn't changed much in more than a decade. Since this car has a leviathan of a twin-turbocharged petrol V12 that produces 621 bhp and 738 pounds-feet of torque, you could argue it hasn't needed to. It's an engine capable of sending a 2.25-ton, 5.3-meter-long, rear-driven limousine from 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 4.2 seconds, and that's before it's really settled down, found its legs and got going, don't forget. And yet the S65 is still a proper luxury car, with uncompromising ride comfort and refinement, which is why it gets a mention at the foot of our super luxury class rankings. It offers onboard comfort unknown to anything else of quite the same performance level, and its huge reserves of torque make it so effortlessly potent to drive that it's hard to believe how little you need to do to make something so large travel so quickly. The S65 isn't a super saloon, though, and its chassis much prefers smooth wide roads to testing narrower ones, the latter giving its air suspension and stability control a lot to think about. Even so, when in its element,